And now we're joined by Ricky Doyle to talk about some early season storylines. And Ricky, earlier this week, Pirates outfielder Starling Marte was suspended 80 games for violating Major League Baseball's performance-enhancing drug policy. First off, what do you make of the suspension, and what does this mean for the Pirates?
Yeah, anytime somebody, a notable player gets pinched for performance-enhancing drugs, you immediately have to think, well, okay, how much of their performance was impacted by the PEDs? Is this a guy that is a legit player, if he, is a notable player, like I said, or was his stock really boosted by the whatever he had put in his body? I tend to think Starling Marte is still going to be a good player when he gets back, but for the next 80 games, you're without this guy who you could argue is the Pirates' best all-around player, especially with Andrew McCutchen having an off season last year, and this is also coming off an off season in which they moved McCutchen to right field and Marte to center field. So this kind of negates all of the work that you put in spring training. You're also not going to have Marte in the playoffs if you get there, which it seems like a pretty difficult proposition at this point, considering you're losing your best all-around player in a division with the Chicago Cubs and the St. Louis Cardinals.
On the other side of that, Eric Thames of the Milwaukee Brewers is easily the best story in all of baseball right now. This is a guy who wasn't wanted by the MLB. He went and played in Asia for 3 years, and now he's back looking better than ever. Yeah. He tops the MLB with 7 home runs so far this season. So in your opinion, can he keep this up?
Yeah, this is a fascinating story. I mean, this guy just completely reinvented himself, really. And I mean, he did say that going over and playing in Korea kind of helped him learn with pitch recognition. He had to deal with a lot more breaking balls. I mean, guys they don't have the velocity over there that they have in the States, but being able to pick up these breaking pitches a lot better has helped him, obviously, as we've seen so far. Whether it's sustainable, I mean, I don't know, but I just think it's interesting to see, especially since, it's interesting to see what kind of precedent this might set too. If teams start thinking outside the box and look to, former major leaguers who perhaps reinvent themselves in other areas of the planet. So it's crazy to watch. It's fun to watch, and I mean, the Brewers have been a sneaky good so far. So we'll see what happens.
It's obviously very early on in the season, but are there any other storylines that are sticking out to you at this point?
It's a little concerning what the Toronto Blue Jays have done thus far, just how pronounced their struggles have been. I mean, the AL East is kind of it's difficult to gauge in the early going on a year-to-year basis, but they've struggled immensely right out of the gate. So just to see that's kind of, I don't know, it's surprising, I guess, but I'm also looking in the National League at the Washington Nationals and how good they have the potential to be. I mean, we knew they had, they were kind of the cream of the crop in the East, but I just think that right now they look like a team that could potentially contend with the likes of the Chicago Cubs in the National League because their offense has been probably the best in baseball. Their rotation looks pretty legit. Bryce Harper looks like his 2015 self, which is a pretty scary proposition for the rest of the National League. So Washington Nationals, look out for them. They're going to make some serious noise.
Okay, well, 3 weeks in, many more weeks to go.
Yep.
If you're playing fantasy baseball, Darren Hartwell has more with Fantasyland top waiver wire pickups, so make sure you stay tuned.